The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets overhead, their harsh glare reflecting off the stainless steel tables where Maria and 20 other workers stood elbow to elbow processing chicken carcasses. The smell, that god-awful mixture of blood, bleach, and cold poultry, never left her nostrils, not even on Sundays when she was off. After 6 years at Fulton Poultry, Maria could identify each worker by their hands alone: Juan's stubby fingers with a burn scar from the scalding tank, Lupe's L on nails always painted pink despite company rules, and Rick's thick, sausage-like digits that always seemed to find their way into her workspace. Maria's knife flashed in rhythm with the conveyor belt's mechanical groans. Slice, trim, pack, repeat. The motions were so ingrained she could do them in her sleep. Not that she got much sleep these days, not since the landlord raised their rent again. "Hey, Tamarly," Rick's voice cut through the factory din, closer than it should have been. His shadow loomed over her workstation. "Boss wants to see you in his office. Better hurry before he changes his mind and calls ICE instead." The blade slipped, nicking the side of her thumb. A bright bead of blood welled up, threatening to drip onto the pristine chicken breast beneath her hands. Maria quickly sucked the wound clean before any could fall. A single drop of blood meant throwing away the entire batch, and that came out of her paycheck. "Did you hear me, Majarder?" Rick leaned in so close, he could smell the Copenhagen on his breath. "Or do I need to say it in Mexican?" Maria kept her eyes on her workstation. "My name is Maria." The entire line seemed to hold its breath. Even the conveyor belt stuttered as if shocked by her defiance. Rick's face turned the color of raw beef. "What did you say to me? You problem here, Mr. Dorson's voice cut through the tension like a knife through chicken cartilage. The floor manager stood on the metal catwalk above them, his clipboard clutched in white-knuckled hands. Maria felt every eye in the department turn toward her. The other Latino workers looked down quickly, suddenly very interested in their work. The white workers smirked, nudging each other. "No problem, sir," Rick said, his voice suddenly professional. "Just reminding Maria about her special meeting with you." Dorson's beady eyes locked onto Maria. "My office. 5 minutes." As he walked away, Rick whispered just loud enough for her to hear, "Pack your shit, Bean. You're done here." The walk to Dorson's office felt like marching to the gallows. Maria passed the break room where a faded "We're all part of the Fulton family" poster hung crookedly next to a handwritten note, "English only zone, this means you." Inside the cramped office, Dorson didn't offer her a seat. He tapped his pen against a stack of papers, complaint forms, she realized with dawning horror. "Marie, we've had some concerns raised about your work ethic," Dorson began, not meeting her eyes. "Rick says you've been slowing down the line, taking extra breaks, refusing to follow instructions. That's not. He also says you threatened him today. That's a serious allegation." Dorson finally looked up, his expression unreadable. "You know our policy on workplace violence." Maria's hands trembled in her lap. She pressed them between her knees to still them. "Sir, I've worked here 6 years. Never late. Never a complaint. Rick's been with us 12 years. Dorson interrupted. "He's next in line for shift supervisor." The unspoken words hung between them, "and you're replaceable." Outside the office window, Maria saw Rick high-fiving 2 other workers. One of them mimicked a border patrol agent checking papers, laughing as Rick pantomimed handcuffs. Dorson slid a paper across the desk. "Sign this, and we'll call it a mutual separation. No hard feelings." Maria scanned the document with growing horror. This says I'm resigning voluntarily. I won't get severance. I won't even get unemployment. You'll get a good reference, Dorson said smoothly. Unless you'd rather we look into those regularities in your paperwork. Maria's blood turned to ice. Everyone at Fulton knew what that meant, threats to call immigration. Her hand shook as she picked up the pen. The bus ride home took forever. Maria sat stiffly, clutching the manila envelope containing her final paycheck, $287.46 after Dorson's administrative deductions. The numbers blew, are red as tears welled in her eyes. That wouldn't even cover half the rent, let alone the overdue electric bill still sitting unopened on the kitchen counter. Outside the fogged bus windows, Detroit's crumbling neighborhoods slid by like a grainy documentary. Boarded-up houses with foreclosed signs. Liquor stores with bulletproof glass. The occasional hopeful mural of the Virgin Mary painted on some building's side. Maria counted each block until her stop, each one a hammer blow to her chest. Dios mío, what do I tell the kids? The apartment smelled of pine sol and simmering beans when Maria pushed open the door. 11-year-old Sophia sat at the fold-out kitchen table, carefully helping 7-year-old Mateo with his math homework. They both looked up, their faces shifting from surprise to confusion. Mamar. Sophia's pencil froze mid-equation. Why are you home? Did you get sick again? Maria forced a smile, hanging her coat to hide her shaking hands. No, my car is on the factory. They let us go early today. Mateo bounced in his seat. Then we can make tamales like on Christmas. Sophia wasn't fooled. Her dark eyes, so much like her father's, narrowed. On a Wednesday, the lie curdled in Maria's throat. She busied herself checking the nearly empty refrigerator. 3 eggs. Half a block of cheese. The pot of beans Sophia must have started after school. Her brave, grown-up girl. The eviction notice glared from the counter where she'd left it that morning. Final notice P.I. or vacate by 12/15. That night, after the kids fell asleep sharing the bedroom's twin mattress, Maria sat at the kitchen table with a calculator and all the bills spread before her like a losing hand of cards. $1,240 back rent, $387 DTE electric, $215 gas bill, $140 phone cut off next week. Her fingers trembled as she dialed her sister in El Paso. 3 rings, then voicemail. You reached Rosa's. Maria hung up. Rosa barely scraped by herself with 3 kids and a husband doing odd jobs after his construction injury. The phone buzzed in her hand, startling her. An unknown number. Answer it, some instinct whispered. Maria? It's Lupe. From the line. The voice was hushed, urgent. Maria's pulse jumped. Lupe never called. Nobody from work ever called. Listen, Lupe continued before Maria could speak. Rick's been stealing meat. Whole cases of thighs. Dorson knows, probably getting a cut. Maria's mind reeled. The missing shipments everyone whispered about. The manager's sudden new truck. Why tell me? Maria whispered. A pause. Then, because you stood up today. And I saw your eviction notice when you dropped your bag last week. Maria's face burned with shame. Meet me tomorrow, Lupe said. 9 a.m. The old diner on Michigan Ave. I have an idea. The line went dead. The old diner smelled of burnt coffee and industrial cleaner. Maria sat in the back booth, her hands wrapped around a mug she couldn't afford to drink from. Every time the bell above the door jingled, her shoulders tensed. If anyone from Fulton saw her with Lupe now, a shadow fell across the table. Lupe slid into the booth, her usually neat braid fraying at the edges. Dark circles bruised her eyes. She dumped 3 sugar packets into her coffee before speaking. "They're moving the meat tonight." Maria's stomach clenched. "How do you know?" Rick bragged to the loading guys. Lupe's spoon clinked violently against the mug. "Thinks he's untouchable. Says even if someone snitch, who'll believe a bunch of wet." She cut herself off, glancing at Maria. The unspoken word hung between them like a noose. Maria traced a crack in the formica table. "Why risk telling me? You could lose everything." Lupe's smile was razor-thin. "My boy turns 16 next month." Rick joked about reporting him to IC for a birthday present. She slid a key across the table. "Maintenance closet by loading dock. Cameras been broken for weeks." The metal bit into Maria's palm. Midnight. The Fulton parking lot loomed empty except for 2 trucks, Dorson's Ford and Rick's Dodge with a Confederate flag decal. Maria crouched behind a dumpster, the Detroit cold seeping through her thin jacket. Every crunch of gravel sounded like a gunshot. Stupid. This is so stupid. But the eviction notice flashed in her mind. Sophie's hollow cheeks when she thought Maria wasn't looking. She moved. The key turned silently. The maintenance closet smelled of mold and ammonia. Maria squeezed past Mo. P.S. to the small window overlooking the loading dock. And there they were, Rick and Dorson, loading case after case of premium chicken thighs into Rick's truck. No invoices. No scans. Just quick hands and quieter laughter. Maria's phone camera whirred softly in the dark. Click. The sound wasn't loud, but Rick's head snapped up like a bloodhound's. Someone's here. Maria's blood turned to ice. She ducked below the window as Dorson's flashlight beam swept the walls. "Probably just rats." Son muttered, but footsteps approached. The closet doorknob rattled. Maria's breath stopped. 1 yard away, through the thin door, Rick's wheezing breaths synced with her pounding heart. Then a crash from the far side of the warehouse. "Goddamn raccoons!" Dorson shouted. "Come on, let's finish this." The footsteps retreated. Maria didn't exhale until she heard truck engines roar to life 20 minutes later. The neon sign of the all-night laundromat buzzed like an angry wasp, casting sickle, white pink light over Lupe's face as she swiped through Maria's photos. Each flick of her finger made Maria's stomach twist tighter. "Mother of God," Lupe whispered. She zoomed in on Dorson's hand sliding an envelope into Rick's overalls. "They're not even hiding it." Maria rubbed her arms, still chilled from the warehouse. "What now?" "Anonymous tip to corporate." Lupe barked a laugh that startled a homeless man dozing by the dryers. "And get disappeared. Fulton's VP is Dorson's brother-in-law." He gripped Maria's wrist, her nails biting in. "We go straight to Rick. Tonight, before he unloads that meat." Maria's mouth went dry. "He'll kill us." "He'll try," Lupe said grimly, pulling a burner phone from her pocket. "But I know where he takes the stolen goods." The Detroit Fine Meats warehouse looked abandoned, its broken windows patched with plywood. But the fresh tire tracks in the mud told another story. Maria crouched behind a rusted oil drum, her phone recording as Rick and 2 meaty men unloaded Fulton's cases into a side door. Lupe's text vibrated in her pocket. "Security guard is my cousin's friend. Hates Rick. Will distract him at 1:30 a.m. Get closer shots." Maria's knees protested as she crab-walked across the cracked asphalt. The stench of rotting meat made her eyes water. She steadied her phone against a dumpster just as Rick peeled off a Fulton label to reveal a fake Grade B sticker underneath. Click, click, click. A hand clamped over her mouth. Gotcha, you spick bitch, Rick hissed, yanking her up by her hair. His breath reeked of whiskey and chewing tobacco. Knew it was you sniffing around. Maria's phone clattered to the ground. Rick stomped on it, the screen shattering like ice. Who else knows? He shook her so hard her teeth clacked. Was it that slut Lupe? Behind him, the warehouse door creaked open. A towering black man in a security uniform stepped out, flashlight beam cutting through the dark. Problem, mister. Rick. The guards, the voice was deceptively calm. Rick didn't loosen his grip. Mind your business, Jamal. Just taking out the trash. Jamal's flashlight dipped to Maria's terrified face, then to the broken phone. Although he stepped closer. See, thing is, my cameras caught you loading Fulton product 15 minutes ago. He tapped his own phone. Corporate might find that interesting. Rick's grip slackened just enough for Maria to wrench free. You're bluffing. Jamal smiled, slow and dangerous. Try me. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Rick spat at Maria's feet. This ain't over. He stormed off, shouting to his crew to pack up. Maria's legs gave out. Jamal caught her elbow. Lupe's waiting in my car. Though. The fluorescent lights of Jamal's security office flickered like a strobe, casting jumpy shadows over the corkboard covered with warehouse schematics. Maria clutched the styrofoam cup of terrible coffee he'd shoved into her hands, the heat barely cutting through her shaking. Across the desk, Lupe chewed her thumbnail bloody. Jamal leaned back in his creaking chair, tossing his Fulton security badge onto the desk. Rick's been skimming inventory for 8 months, he said. Takes the good cuts, organic thighs, free-range breasts, repackages them as lower grade. Sells to shady caterers for cash. Maria's stomach turned. She'd trimmed those same organic thighs last week, her hands aching while Rick smirked at her from his supervisor's perch. Why help us? Her voice came out hoarse. See? Jamal's smile didn't reach his eyes. He pulled up his sleeve, revealing a jagged scar. Rick gave me this when I caught him screwing a line worker in the cooler. HR called it a disagreement between colleagues. Lupe slammed her fist on the desk. We have enough to bury him. The photos, your camera footage, and then what? Jamal interrupted. Dorson covers it up, fires us all, and you end up in a ditch like Ramirez. The name hung in the air like smoke. Maria remembered Carlos Ramirez, the union organizer who'd vanished last winter. Police ruled it a gang-related incident. Jamal leaned forward. Here's how we play it. We don't go after Rick, we become Rick. The plan was simple, brutal, terrifying. Maria returns to Fulton. Jamal's cousin in HR would lose her resignation paperwork. They let the thefts continue but start documenting every shipment, every payoff. Wait for the big score, the Christmas Eve shipment worth $200K. Then we flip, Jamal said, eyes gleaming. Corporate'll pardon us to nail Dorson. Lupe was already nodding. Maria thought of Sophia finding eviction notices under her pillow. Okay. 2 weeks later, the factory line roared around Maria like a living thing. She kept her head down, her hands moving automatically, just another invisible brown woman in a hammock. Rick strutted past her station 3 times an hour, his new supervisor badge gleaming. Watching, waiting for her to slip up. She didn't breathe until lunch. The women's bathroom stall reeked of bleach and urine. Maria balanced on the toilet lid while Lupe whispered through the divider. Jamal says they're using a refrigerated semi next week. Drivers, some ex-con Ricky knows. Maria's fingers trembled as she passed Lupe a folded napkin, a list of shipment times she'd copied from Dorson's office. Sophie's teacher called. She's been falling asleep in class. Lupe's hand gripped hers through the gap. 3 more days. Then the bathroom door banged open. Both one. In froze. High heels clicked across the tiles. Then a familiar voice humming their colors. Carmen, the HR secretary. Maria's pulse pounded in her ears as the humming stopped outside their stall. A slip of paper slid underneath. Dorson knows. Run. Maria's sneakers slapped against the cracked sidework as she sprinted toward the bus stop. Carmen's warning note crumpled in her fist. The factory whistle blew behind her shift change. Rick would know she'd bolted within minutes. Sover. Mateo. T. He names pounded in her skull with each step. She fumbled for her phone, dialing the after-school program with shaking fingers. Pick up, a recorded message. You've reached Bright Futures Academy. Our hours are, Maria cursed, cutting off the robotic voice. 3:47 p.m. The kids would be walking home alone by now. The bus crawled through traffic like a dying animal. Maria jammed her thumb against the stop button 3 blocks early, leaping onto the curb before the doors fully opened. The apartment door hung slightly ajar. Maria's breath seized. She'd locked it this morning. She always locked it. Mamar. Mateo's shriek sent her crashing through the doorway. Her son clung to Sophia in the kitchen, both children pressed against the refrigerator. A mountain of a man in a Fulton meat jacket loomed over them, flipping through Sophia's school notebook. Here we go. Rick's enforcer. Maria recognized him from the loading dock, tore out a page covered in Sophia's careful English. essays. Addresses. Phone numbers. Real helpful, kids. Maria launched herself at him. Alejate der Elos. The man backhanded her without looking. Maria's vision flashed white as she hit the wall, tasting blood. Sophia screamed, launching herself at the intruder with a butter knife. He laughed, swatting her away like a fly. Crack. The baseball bat connected with the back of the man's knees. He howled, collapsing as Jamal stepped from the bedroom shadows, swinging again. Car. Jamal barked. Ed, tossing Maria her go-bag, the one she'd packed after the first threat. Now, the stolen Fulton delivery van reeked of raw chicken. Maria pressed an ice pack from the cooler to her swollen cheek as Jamal wove through Detroit's back streets. Lupe? She asked quietly. Jamal's grip on the wheel tightened. Dawn. Dorson's people picked her up an hour ago. In the back seat, Sophia clutched Mateo, both children streaked with tears. Are we criminals now? The girl whispered. Maria turned to Jam. The evidence, gone with Lupe. He jerked the wheel onto the highway ramp. But I know where they're stashing the Christmas shipment. The van accelerated toward the industrial district, where the Detroit River swallowed all light. The abandoned Fisher body plant loomed like a graveyard of steel, its broken windows reflecting the flashing lights of a single Fulton truck parked near the loading docks. Maria crouched behind a stack of rusted barrels, zooming her phone camera on Rick and Dee. Arson exchanging handshakes with men in suits. Click, click, got the license plates. Jamal whispered, tightening his grip on the tire iron. Maria nodded, filming as crates marked Grade B were loaded into an unmarked semi. The moon glinted off something in Dorson's hand, a pistol tucked into his waistband. Sophia tugged Maria's sleeve. Mamar, that lady's here. Carmen emerged from the shadows in a fur coat that cost more than Maria's yearly rent, heels clicking as she approached Dorson. I kissed. Not her peck, a deep, familiar kiss. Jamal sucked in a breath. That's why she warned you. She's his mistress. Freeze, motherfuckers! A floodlight blinded them. Maria barely yanked Sophia down as gunfire erupted, bullets pinging off the barrels. "Run to the river!" Jamal shoved Maria toward the chain-link fence as 3 Fulton security guards charged. "I'll hold them." A bullet tore through his shoulder. Jamal roared, swinging the tire iron into a guard's kneecap. Maria grabbed him. ATO, sprinting for the fence. Sophia scrambled up first, then reached for her brother. "No." Rick materialized from the darkness, snatching Mateo midair. He pressed a knife to the boy's throat. "Drop the phone, Pewter." The world narrowed to the blade's edge against her son's skin. Maria's phone clattered to the pavement. Rick grinned. "Smart. Now watch." He nodded to Dorson, who aimed his pistol at Jamal's head. Bang! Carmen screamed as Dorson collapsed, blood blossoming across his white shirt. The guards scattered. A black SUV screeched into the lot, doors flying open. "Ice! Everyone down!" Maria barely registered the federal agents swarming the scene before Lupe, alive, her face bruised but fierce, yanked her behind the SUV. "Took you long enough," Lupe gasped to the lead agent, who was cuffing Rick. The agent smirked. "We wanted the buyers, too." He nodded to the suits now face down on the asphalt. "Gourmet foods, my ass. These clowns supply half the Midwest's black market. Eat." 2 months later, the Detroit Free Press headline fluttered on Maria's new kitchen table: "Fulton meat execs indicted in $12M fraud scheme." Below it, a smaller photo: Rick being led into court, his smirk finally wiped clean. Sophia set down a plate of Chilaquiles, real eggs, real cheese, paid for with Maria's new job at the USDA whistleblower office. "Will Jamal visit Sunday?" Maria smiled, adjusting the sling on his shoulder. "He better. I'm making his favorite puzzle." Through the wind, Dow, the first snow of December began to fall, clean and quiet, burying the old scars beneath something new.